Have you ever had a moment where one simple act of kindness completely altered the course of your life? That's exactly what happened to Marcus Jenkins, a struggling single father working 2 jobs just to keep food on the table for his 7-year-old daughter. What began as an uncomfortable favor for his intoxicated boss turned into the miracle he never saw coming. If this story touches your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to see more life-changing stories like this one. Marcus stared at the stack of past due bills on his kitchen counter, the red, final notice, stamp seeming to glow in the dim light of his small apartment. His daughter Lily was already asleep in their shared bedroom, blissfully unaware of how close they were to losing everything. He rubbed his tired eyes, calculating for the 100th time how he could stretch his meager paycheck to cover rent, utilities, and the medication Lily needed for her asthma. Something would have to give, and he was terrified it would be their home. At 32, Marcus never imagined he'd be in this position. 5 years ago, he had a beautiful wife, a decent job at Meridian Publishing as a junior editor, and dreams of writing his own novel someday. Then came the accident that took his wife Sarah away forever, leaving him alone to raise their 2-year-old daughter. Grief had nearly consumed him, but Lily needed him, so he pushed forward day by day, hour by hour, sometimes minute by minute. The publishing company had been understanding at first, giving him flexible hours and time off when needed. But when new management took over 3 years ago, everything changed. Victoria Winters, the new CEO, was notorious for her cold demeanor and ruthless business tactics. Under her leadership, the warm family atmosphere of Meridian Publishing transformed into a cutthroat environment where employees lived in constant fear of losing their jobs. Marcus had been demoted to the mailroom, his salary slashed by 40%. Pride made him stay rather than start over somewhere else. This was the company where Sarah had worked too, one of the few connections to her he had left. To make ends meet, he took a second job as a night janitor at a nearby office building, sleeping only 4 hours most nights. The next morning, Marcus dropped Lily off at school, his heart aching as he noticed the holes in her sneakers. "I'll get you new ones soon, princess," he promised, knowing he'd have to skip a few meals to make it happen. At work, the atmosphere was tenser than usual. Victoria was on a rampage, firing 2 editors before lunch. Marcus kept his head down, sorting mail and delivering packages throughout the building. When he accidentally bumped into Victoria in the hallway, causing her to spill coffee on her expensive white blouse, he thought his time at Meridian was finally over. "You incompetent fool," she hissed, dabbing at the stain with a tissue. "Do you have any idea how much this costs?" "I'm so sorry, Ms. Winters," Marcus apologized, bracing himself for the inevitable pink slip. Instead, she just glared at him and stormed off. Marcus exhaled slowly, grateful for the temporary reprieve but knowing his days were numbered. That evening, the company held its annual holiday party at an upscale restaurant downtown. As a mailroom employee, Marcus wasn't invited, but he was asked to work as part of the coat check staff to earn extra money. He couldn't refuse, every dollar counted. The party was in full swing when Marcus noticed Victoria stumbling toward the bar for what was clearly not her first drink of the night. Her usual perfectly coiffed appearance was slightly disheveled, her eyes unfocused. He watched as she argued with the bartender who seemed to be refusing her service. "Everything all right, Ms. Winters?" asked Marcus's supervisor, approaching her cautiously. "Mind your own business, Richard," she slurred, nearly falling as she turned to leave. Richard caught Marcus's eye and motioned him over. "Jenkins, Ms. Winters needs to get home safely. The company car service is backed up with other executives. Can you make sure she gets into a taxi?" Marcus wanted to refuse. He was supposed to pick up Lily from his elderly neighbor who watched her after school. But saying no to this request would surely cost him his job. "Of course," he replied, his stomach knotting with anxiety. Getting Victoria into a taxi proved impossible. She refused to give her address to the driver, insisting she needed to go back to the office to finish some work. After 3 failed attempts and watching the meter run while she argued, Marcus made a difficult decision. "I'll take her home with me until she sobers up enough to tell me her address," he told the driver, canceling the ride. His neighbor Mrs. Patel was surprised when Marcus arrived with his boss draped over his shoulder, but she didn't ask questions. "Lily is sleeping on my couch," she said. "She can stay the night if needed." "Thank you," Marcus said gratefully. "I'll come get her in the morning." He managed to get Victoria to his apartment and settled her on his worn sofa. She was barely conscious, mumbling incoherently about quarterly reports and disappointing sales figures. Marcus placed a glass of water and some aspirin on the coffee table, then sat at his small kitchen table, wondering how this night would affect his already precarious employment situation. As Victoria drifted off to sleep, Marcus noticed her designer purse had fallen open, revealing a small photo. Curiosity got the better of him, and he carefully picked it up. It showed a much younger Victoria with a little girl who looked about Lily's age. They were both smiling, a genuine, joyful expression he'd never seen on his boss's face. Marcus returned the photo and settled into the uncomfortable kitchen chair for the night, too anxious to sleep in his bedroom and leave Victoria alone in his living room. Morning came with the sound of Victoria groaning as she woke up, disoriented and clearly suffering from a hangover. "Where am I?" she demanded, sitting up too quickly and wincing. "My apartment, Ms. Winters," Marcus explained, keeping his distance. "You were intoxicated at the company party, and I couldn't get your address to take you home." Victoria's eyes narrowed as she took in her surroundings, the shabby furniture, the water stains on the ceiling, the small Christmas tree made of paper that clearly had been crafted by a child. "Jenkins, right? From the mailroom?" she asked, her voice hoarse. "Yes, ma'am." Before she could respond, the door opened, and Mrs. Patel appeared with Lily, who ran straight to Marcus. "Daddy!" Mrs. Patel made pancakes shaped like stars. Lily exclaimed, then stopped when she noticed Victoria. "Who's that lady?" "This is Ms. Winters, my boss," Marcus explained awkwardly. "She wasn't feeling well last night, so she stayed here." Victoria's expression changed as she looked at Lily, something flickered in her eyes that Marcus couldn't quite identify. "Hello," Victoria said, her tone softer than Marcus had ever heard it. "You're pretty," Lily said with the honesty only children possess. "But you look sad." Victoria seemed taken aback by the comment. "I'm just tired," she replied. "Lily, why don't you go to your room and get ready for school?" Marcus suggested, not wanting to subject his daughter to Victoria's potential wrath once she fully processed the situation. After Lily left, Victoria stood up, straightening her rumpled clothes. "I need to get home and change before going to the office." "I can call you a taxi," Marcus offered. Victoria nodded, then paused, looking around the apartment more carefully. Her gaze lingered on the stack of bills on the counter, the worn-out furniture, and the small bedroom where Lily had disappeared. "You're a single parent?" she asked unexpectedly. Marcus hesitated before answering. "Yes. My wife died 5 years ago." Something in Victoria's expression shifted. "I see," she said quietly. Then, more businesslike, "Thank you for your assistance last night. I'll see you at the office." After Victoria left in the taxi, Marcus prepared Lily for school, trying to ignore the knot of anxiety in his stomach. He was certain he'd be fired by the end of the day. But when he arrived at work, there was no summons to HR, no pink slip waiting on his desk in the mailroom. The day passed normally, though he noticed Victoria didn't emerge from her office at all. 3 days later, Marcus was sorting the morning mail when his supervisor approached him. "Jenkins, Ms. Winters wants to see you in her office." Now. This was it, Marcus thought. The axe was finally falling. He straightened his tie and made his way to the executive floor, rehearsing how he would beg for his job. Lily's medication had just run out, and he needed the health insurance. Victoria's assistant ushered him into the spacious corner office where Victoria sat behind an imposing desk, her expression unreadable. Close the door, she instructed, not looking up from the document she was reading. Marcus complied, his heart pounding. I've been reviewing your personnel file, Victoria began, finally meeting his gaze. You were an editor here before being moved to the mailroom. Yes, ma'am, Marcus confirmed, confused by this line of questioning. Your performance reviews were excellent. Your former supervisor noted your exceptional attention to detail and your ability to connect with authors. Marcus remained silent, unsure where this was going. Victoria leaned back in her chair. I owe you an apology, Mr. Jenkins. Of all the things Marcus expected her to say, an apology wasn't even on the list. He blinked in surprise. When I took over this company, I made decisions based solely on numbers and efficiency, she continued. I didn't consider the human element. Your demotion was part of a cost-cutting measure, not a reflection of your abilities. I understand business decisions need to be made, Marcus said carefully. Victoria stood up and walked to the window, her back to him. The night I spent at your apartment, it made me realize some things. She turned to face him. I lost my daughter 8 years ago. Cancer. She was only 4. Marcus felt a wave of sympathy wash over him. I'm so sorry. After that, I threw myself into work. Became the person you see now, cold, calculating, focused only on the bottom line. Seeing you with your daughter, in that small apartment with past due bills but still making her paper Christmas trees and putting her needs first, it reminded me of what matters. Victoria returned to her desk and picked up a folder. I'm offering you your old position back, with a substantial raise. The company needs good editors, and you were one of the best. Marcus stared at her in disbelief. I don't know what to say. Say yes, Victoria replied. And there's something else. I noticed your daughter has asthma medication on your counter. My daughter had asthma too. I've arranged for the company's health plan to cover her medications completely. Tears welled in Marcus's eyes. Ms. Winters, I can't thank you enough. Victoria, please, she said, a small smile forming on her lips. And there's one more thing. I found this in your personnel file. She handed him a manuscript. You were working on a novel before your wife's accident. Our fiction department would like to review it for possible publication. Marcus took the manuscript with trembling hands. He had abandoned his dream of becoming an author after Sarah died, too consumed by grief and the responsibilities of single parenthood. How did you find this? He asked. It was in your employee development plan from 5 years ago. Your supervisor at the time kept a copy. I'd like you to finish it. 2 months later, Marcus sat at his editor's desk, reviewing a promising new author's work. His own novel was in the final stages of editing, with a publication date set for the following spring. Lily's health had improved with regular medication, and they had moved to a better apartment closer to her school. Victoria had transformed as well. The company's culture was slowly changing under her new leadership style, which balanced business needs with employee welfare. She had started a foundation in her daughter's name to help single parents in the publishing industry. Every Friday, Victoria joined Marcus and Lily for dinner. She had become a mentor to Marcus and a surrogate aunt to Lily, filling a void in all their lives they hadn't realized was there. One evening, as they walked through the park after dinner, Lily running ahead to feed the ducks, Victoria turned to Marcus. You know, taking you home that night was the best thing that ever happened to me, she said quietly. I think it worked out pretty well for me too, Marcus replied with a smile. I was so lost in my grief and bitterness that I'd forgotten how to live, Victoria continued. Seeing how you managed to be a loving father despite your circumstances woke something up in me. You saved me, Marcus. We saved each other, he corrected her. And now we're both finding our way forward. As they watched Lily laughing by the pond, Marcus reflected on how quickly life could change. One act of kindness, one decision to help someone in need, had altered the trajectory of all their lives. From the depths of despair, he had found not only financial security but also friendship and a renewed sense of purpose. Victoria had found healing for her broken heart by opening it to others again. And Lily had gained not just stability but an extended family in Victoria. Sometimes the most profound changes come from the most unexpected places. For Marcus, it had been the simple decision to help his drunk boss get home safely. For Victoria, it had been seeing genuine love and sacrifice in the midst of poverty. Their story was a testament to the power of compassion and the unexpected ways lives can intertwine to create something beautiful from brokenness. If this story touched your heart, remember that small acts of kindness can change lives in ways we never imagine. Like and subscribe for more stories that remind us of our shared humanity and the power we all have to make a difference.